The wolves paused in an open area, finally catching the sheep's scent wafting from behind. They turned and began moving toward the flock. The shepherd, always vigilant, sent a teammate to protect the sheep, though he left the wolf pup behind, sparking curiosity about whether the trained pup would side with the wild wolves or defend his new pack. The wolves, now alert, carefully approached the flock, using the landscape to stay hidden. The shepherd's drone kept its distance to avoid disturbing the ambush, knowing the sheep were well protected by humans and dogs, with the drone relaying live updates. When the wolves reached the landmark, the sheep were in plain sight, grazing on a flat area on the left side of the hill. As they got closer, the wolves moved cautiously, stopping frequently. One wolf slipped into the grass, planning a surprise attack, while the other kept watch on the shepherd, trying to locate the sheepdogs. When some sheep moved toward the wolves' position, unaware of the threat below, the wolves finally locked onto their target and prepared to strike. But just as the wolves were about to make their move, the shepherd's teammate shouted, startling them. The wolves retreated, bewildered as to how the shepherd spotted them before the dogs did. Little did they know, they were being watched the whole time by the drone. Not long after, a Congal sheepdog spotted the wolves and, guided by the shepherd, chased after them. However, the dog's speed couldn't match the wolves, and without a pack to assist, the gap only widened. Although the wolves didn't flee hastily, they maintained a steady pace, confident in their retreat. Meanwhile, the wolf pup, oblivious to the action, continued his role as the group's caretaker, unaware of the encounter that had just unfolded. Meet a shepherd dog that has taken on and defeated a pack of wolves 3 times. According to the owner, during the last attack, the wolves lured the dog far away and ambushed him. But when backup arrived, 2 more dogs named Damon and Bart, they managed to take down one of the wolves together. The dogs bore scars from the fierce battle, showing just how intense the fight was. To prevent the dogs from chasing too far and getting into danger, the owner had to leash some of the more aggressive ones. Today's video returns to the shepherd training wild wolves to guard sheep. It's been a hectic few days. Wolves have repeatedly appeared near the flock, setting the stage for the dramatic scenes at the beginning. Watching the footage, you might wonder, what has the young wolf pup been up to during all this? Has he been fighting the wild wolves like the shepherd dogs, or has he teamed up with them to betray the pack? Turns out it's not as complicated as you might think. Recently, the little wolf pup has grown quite a bit. Raised away from the wild, enjoying the comfort of regular meals and a sheltered life, the pup has no concept of the struggles wild wolves face to find food. When the wolf pack shows up, he's just curious, then quickly goes back to playing happily, unaware of any threat. He's got a long way to go before he can become a proper shepherd wolf. Meanwhile, the owner has been training him, not so much to sharpen his hunting instincts, but to build a trusting and friendly bond between the wolf and humans. For a wolf to become a shepherd dog, he first has to unlearn being a wolf and start thinking like a dog. From the pup's reactions, he's become increasingly attached to people, and he seems to enjoy it. Raised by shepherds, nurtured by the dogs, and surrounded by sheep, this young wolf doesn't even realize he's a wolf. Being a dog has its perks. He doesn't have to hunt for food, but has lost the freedom and wild joy unique to wolves. The big question is, will he ever figure out he's different from the dogs? Hopefully, as he grows, he'll never notice the difference, and this identity crisis will never trouble him. What's it like to train a wolf pup as a sheepdog? In today's video, it's day 94 of the wolf pup joining the herd. In just 2 weeks, this little guy has hit a major growth spurt. He's gotten much bigger. As the weather cools down, the herder and his team are starting to move the flock to the mountains away from the river. For the past couple of months, they've been grazing along the river. But now that it's fall, the grass isn't growing anymore, and they've lost access to the good pastures. This migration means they're heading into harsher environments, where wolf attacks are more frequent. Back to the wolf pup. Despite growing in size and becoming more mature, he still might not realize he's a wolf yet. Or maybe he's already accepted his role as a sheep wolf. He's formed a close bond with the sheepdogs that have raised him. In the drone footage, the pup runs ahead, then sits at a spot where the dogs can still see him, waiting for the sheepdogs to catch up. Once they do, he moves a little further and waits again. The herder thinks the pup is excited because they're getting closer to the mountains, where they can hear the sound of water. The wolf wants a drink but won't go off alone. He waits for his teammates. The pup's starting to show real teamwork skills, though he's still a bit shy. Now, about his relationship with the sheep. Things are changing. The goats seem to have realized he's a wolf and are starting to reject him, while the sheep haven't noticed anything unusual yet. The funny thing is, the pup isn't that interested in the sheep who don't mind him, but he's very curious about the goats who are avoiding him. If it weren't for the fact that the pup hasn't harmed any of the animals yet, his behavior would almost seem like he's plotting something. The herder noticed this too, and thinks the goat's rejection has made the young wolf curious. If the pup starts attacking the flock, they'll release him back into the wild or a reserve. As he matures, the wolf's coat blends perfectly with the environment. He's getting harder to spot, even when standing right in front of you, thanks to his coloring that camouflages him with the landscape. This is something the herder has to deal with. Wild wolves can appear out of nowhere, almost invisible to the human eye. Seeing sheep and a wolf competing for attention is rare, but the pup has shown remarkable restraint and tolerance. As he continues to grow, will he eventually turn on the goats who now sense something is off? We'll just have to wait and see in the herder's next update. This wolf actually teamed up with a sheepdog to chase off a wild boar. Is it a twisted instinct or a moral breakdown? In today's video, we're back with the shepherd training a domesticated wolf as a sheepdog. In previous videos, many viewers doubted the wolf pup's identity, suggesting it might actually be a Turkish Boz shepherd or even a German shepherd. Some viewers recommended a test to tell whether it's a wolf or a dog, see if unfamiliar dogs attack it. Well, today you get to see what you've been waiting for. In the past few days, the shepherd moved his flock deeper into the mountains, specifically into Wild Boar Canyon. Given the high likelihood of boar encounters, he tied up 2 aggressive female sheepdogs to prevent any confrontations. This area, known for wild boars, is also home to wolves, and sure enough, the shepherd spotted a wolf that had been attacked by a boar. Later that night, a boar showed up near their temporary camp. Despite tying up the aggressive sheepdogs, one of them decided to chase off the intruder. The young wolf joined in, too. After all, it had to back up its teammate. The wolf pup showed remarkable team spirit, and the duo, wolf and dog, followed the boar. The strange partnership seemed to confuse the boar, and it eventually decided to retreat. It's likely that news of this odd wolf-dog combo will soon spread throughout Wild Boar Canyon, bringing shame to the local wolf pack. The shepherd was proud of the young wolf's bravery, proving that all the training paid off. As a reward, the wolf got a feast. After dinner, it was time to rest. The wolf pup still hadn't kicked its habit of warming the shepherd's bed, but as it's grown bigger, the shepherd wants to teach it to sleep alone. This time, there was no room for the pup. Confused, the wolf tried pawing at the ground, as if to awaken the shepherd's sympathy, while the sheep silently observed, recording the moment as if it were a courtroom drama. The wolf eventually gave up, reluctantly curling up next to the shepherd, half asleep, but ready to sneak back in at any opportunity. A sudden downpour started overnight and continued until morning. The group had to pack up and move further into the mountains. The young wolf hadn't slept well and stayed close to the shepherd, seemingly trying to show how tough its night was. Life on the mountain is dull, with few encounters with other shepherds. When they did run into some, unfamiliar dogs quickly identified the young wolf for what it was. However, knowing it was under the shepherd's care and accompanied by some fierce dogs, they kept their distance. The wolf pup seemed a bit embarrassed by the stares. To cheer up the wolf, the shepherd decided to give it a nutritional boost. The wolf happily wagged its tail, looking very grateful. Of course, it didn't forget to show some courtesy to the sheep as well. Quite a polite little wolf. Jealousy can really change a wolf's nature. In this video, we return to the shepherd who's training a domesticated wolf as a sheepdog. Recently, the shepherd moved up the mountain for the season, and unexpectedly, one of his donkeys gave birth to a baby donkey. Naturally, the new arrival needed the shepherd's attention, which he willingly gave. However, the young wolf wasn't thrilled about this. He tried to get the shepherd's attention by playfully biting the baby donkey. For a wolf, this behavior is unusual, completely lacking the calm demeanor you'd expect. Meanwhile, Turkey's legal hunting season has just started. The shepherd bumped into a group of amateur hunters. mostly Russians guided by locals on a multi-day hunting trip. The shepherd managed to capture some of their hunt on camera, but none of the familiar Turkish professional hunters were there. Their shooting skills weren't impressive. Not a single wild boar was harmed in the footage. As for the young wolf, during all this action, he was tied up to prevent conflicts with hunting dogs and to avoid being mistaken for a wild predator by the hunters. After all, he's still a wolf, and that can easily cause panic. The video quickly shifts back to the sheepdogs and the flock as they move toward a water source. The shepherd got lucky, finding a lush area that other herds hadn't reached yet. The tall grass concealed the young wolf's presence, but it also meant that wild wolves could be hiding nearby, waiting to approach the flock. The shepherd and his dogs stayed vigilant, especially as nightfall was about 2 hours away. With the flock not fully fed, the shepherd decided to move them, knowing it wasn't the best spot for the dogs to defend and that wild boars could come down for water at night. While moving, the dogs suddenly stopped, sensing something in the woods. It could have been a wolf or a wild boar. The young wolf, now almost fully grown, had learned to work with the sheepdogs, and they quickly ran into the woods. The shepherd, eager to film, followed them. The atmosphere grew tense, with barking coming from the opposite hillside. All the dogs were on high alert, including the young wolf. Unfortunately, the shepherd couldn't capture what happened next. He had to keep moving to protect the flock, and his equipment wasn't suitable for nighttime filming. Plus, it was time to feed the dogs. Unlike other shepherds, he spoils his dogs with a warm meal, heated dog food mixed with sheep milk. The young wolf seems to enjoy this meal more than raw meat, which is unusual for a wolf. After eating, the young wolf became surprisingly relaxed, even rolling over on his back like a house pet. If the camera hadn't been moving, you might have thought it was a still image. But why is he acting this way? Well, the zoomed-out shot reveals he's learned this behavior from one of the sheepdogs. The warm meal had all the dogs feeling lazy, making the shepherd wonder if he was overfeeding them. In wolf territory, once the dogs fall asleep, the shepherd is on his own. Fortunately, everyone snapped out of their food-induced daze soon enough. For safety, the shepherd tied up the young wolf that night. He was concerned that the wolf, out of jealousy, might harm the baby donkey while everyone was asleep. So far, the young wolf hasn't hurt any animals, but he did look quite offended by the restriction, even glaring back in frustration, perhaps already plotting his revenge. What's going on? The wolf pup went after the sheepdog that practically raised him? Relax, it's not what it looks like. They're just playing around. Today's story takes us back to the shepherd training a wild wolf pup to live among his sheepdogs. Recently, as the weather has grown colder, the grasslands have started to dry up, leaving the sheep with less food. This has forced the shepherd and his team to continue moving through the mountains to find better grazing areas. According to the shepherd, they've had several run-ins with wild wolves, but because these encounters usually happen at night, they haven't been able to capture them on camera. At night, things get intense. Wolf attacks become more frequent, and the sheepdogs often vanish into the darkness, barking furiously as they chase off intruders. Lighting a campfire is critical, not just to keep the shepherd and his team warm, but also to calm the sheep and keep them from wandering off in the dark. So what's the wolf pup been up to lately? Honestly, not much besides eating. He's obsessed with dog food. Every time the shepherd unloads the dog food bags from the donkey, the pup sticks close by, waiting for his chance to sneak a snack. His love for dog food is so over the top, it's funny to imagine what other wolves would think if they saw him in action. As the wolf pup has grown, his mischievous antics have become more noticeable. He's constantly teasing the sheepdogs, but they're remarkably tolerant of his behavior, even when he pushes their limits. Late at night, the shepherd keeps an eye on the pup because his behavior is a great indicator of nearby wolves. When the pup becomes unusually alert, staring into the darkness, it's often a sign that trouble is close. Thankfully, the sheepdogs are quick to respond, driving off the wolves before they can cause any harm. Because of this, the wolf pup hasn't had a chance to interact with his own kind in the wild yet. When it's not about food, the wolf pup fits in surprisingly well with the sheepdogs. But as soon as dog food is involved, he loses all sense of self-control. Otherwise, he's gotten along so well with the pack that it's hard to believe he's not one of them. Last night, as the group settled down, the shepherd sat by the campfire, chatting with a friend and boiling water for tea. The sheep gathered near the fire for warmth, huddling together in the chilly mountain air. As the evening wore on, the shepherd decided it was time to set up camp. He pitched his tent and even made room for a lamb inside, ensuring the little one would stay warm overnight. Once the flock was settled and the fire burned low, the shepherd got ready to call it a night.